Good day, beloved. I'm Reverend Dr. John E. Jackson, Sr., and I am the senior pastor of the Trinity United Church of Christ in Gary, Indiana, where we are not just another church, but we are a culturally conscious, Christ-centered church that is committed to the community. And I want to pause on this Wednesday. We call it Hump Day, and I want to lift up what I call a Hump Day homily to you. And the title that I'm giving it is The Worship of Weeping. And in the book of Jeremiah, the 9th chapter, in the first verse, it says, "Oh, that my head were waters and my eyes a fountain of tears, that I might weep day and night for the slain of the daughter of my people." I have been re-traumatized by the video circulating on social media of a young black man by the name of Ahmaud Arbery. It shows two white men, one a father who is a retired investigator in the same place where Mr. Arbery, this young black man, was accosted and murdered in Brunswick, Georgia. The father is a retired investigator, and his son, it shows them chasing down and hunting down and murdering this 25-year-old black man by the name of Ahmaud Arbery, who incidentally was unarmed. The incident happened on February the 23rd, 2020. The two white men have yet to be arrested or indicted. The DA refused to indict the two white men because he said the father and the son had probable cause to believe the victim might be a burglar and were within their rights to arm themselves and chase him down in the first place. The prosecutor said the video footage of the shooting made by a neighbor showed Arbery was the aggressor. Now that's what they said. All I could think and all I could feel was weeping. Weeping because in addition to the trauma of living in a present pandemic, in addition to the pain of black and brown and poor people suffering and many who are dying disproportionately because of the inequities in the health system, in the economy, in the educational system, and in the political system of this country, weeping is all I could feel because too many people are tragically traumatized because they cannot visit, they cannot sit with, and they cannot comfort loved ones who are in the hospital because of the restrictions. Weeping because, as Professor Brittany Cooper, a profound professor and sister, she cogently claimed that there are too many politicians and elected officials and high-profile prognosticators who are practicing what she calls necropolitics, y'all, or the politics of death. Too many of them, says Professor Cooper, they are too comfortable with the deaths of other people. That's why Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz and so many others could say we need to open up the economy, the businesses, and some people just have to die. That's called putting profit over principle. The Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, who claims to be pro-life at that, he publicly said there are more important things than living when it comes to the economy. That's called necropolitics. When it comes to the lives of the least of these, the poor and the working class and the voiceless, that's called putting money over morality, y'all. And all I could think about was weeping. All I could feel was weeping. And when the video began to surface, I watched it once and I will not watch it again. And I am sick and tired of videos that are showing the brutality and the killing of black people that loop on social media and the news over and over again. But after the video surfaced, after feeling the pain of my own members whose loved ones have died during this pandemic, some of them from COVID and others from various afflictions, and feeling their pain of not being able to have true closure because of the restriction on the amount of their gathering, after feeling all of that, this video just made me want to weep. Another unarmed black person in the midst of a pandemic is hunted like an animal and like a thing by white people and killed. I just want to weep, y'all. Thousands of people in this nation dying because of the current occupant of the Oval Office. He does not give a damn about them. I just want to weep, y'all. America should have the lowest death rate of any nation on the planet, yet because we have the highest death rates because black and brown are overrepresented in the infections and death rates. We are in a situation where our country does not care about its own people, and my soul just needs to weep, y'all. I don't think we have seriously allowed ourselves to weep as a form of worship, y'all. I remember young adult, 26 years old, Marsha Taylor, who is a nurse. She said something sagaciously significant for her age in an interview that I did with her a couple of weeks ago. And I really encourage each and every one of you, if you have not seen it, go back and watch it. If you watched it, watch it again and watch all of the video interviews that I have done, because each time you watch them, there is something significant that you missed the first and second and third times of watching it. And then please share them with other people, because there is some very powerful expressions that are coming from the members that I interviewed. But I asked Marsha in that interview, again, she's a nurse in the ER at the highest moments of the hospital. I asked her, what do you do to reset? What do you do to wind down? What do you do to recalibrate your spiritual compass after a grueling 12-hour shift of dealing with death and disease constantly? And she said, the first thing, Rev, I need to do is have a good cry. She said, after that, I'm all right. And many of you missed the ministry of Jesus in her statement. Marsha said that to handle the heartbreak, the hardships, heartache of so many hurting people, she needs to have a good cry. Afterwards, she can reset, recalibrate, and return to serve. And I would like to add something so very powerful I heard from the awesome and great pastor, preacher, and theologian, Reverend Dr. Claudette Copeland. I heard this from her a few weeks ago, and that is, Pastor Copeland said, there is a difference between crying and weeping. She said crying is usually the result of physical pain. The doctor sticks a needle in you and it makes you cry. The dentist drills in your teeth and it makes you cry. You stub your toe against something hard and it makes you cry. But she said weeping is the result of emotional overload. Your emotional cup has run over and you just have to weep. Weeping is deep, y'all. Weeping is guttural, and weeping comes from the depths of one's soul and spirit. Psychologists have come up with a term called compassion fatigue, and it is when you have dealt with so many hurting and harassed people's pain for so long that you become overwhelmed. And in the words of Dr. Claudette Copeland, all you have to do, all you can do, all you need to do is weep to cleanse your spirit and your soul. We need to practice social distancing. We need to shelter in place. We need to wash our hands meticulously. We need to pray, y'all, and we need to learn how to fight the political system that does not care for us. But we need to weep, y'all. Not just crying, but deep weeping from the subterranean areas of our soul. Weeping may be hard for some people because it is so intense and can open floodgates that you fear you may not be able to close. But trust me, there is, first of all, healing from the inside out when we allow ourselves to weep. Weep the senseless deaths of innocent people, y'all. And the healing from the weeping that you do will be a sense of wholeness, because weeping is a part of the anatomy of being human. God put tear ducts in your eyes so that you could cleanse your soul, cleanse your spirit, cleanse your heart by weeping, y'all. Jesus said in one of the Beatitudes in Matthew 5, he said, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." There is healing in weeping, y'all. There is some great healing for the spirit, for the soul, and for your mind in weeping, y'all. But there's also holiness in your weeping. Psalm 42 says, "Deep calls unto deep in the roar of your waterfalls. All your waves and breakers have swept over me, O Lord." When Jesus' friend Lazarus died and they showed him the tomb where Lazarus was laying, the shortest verse in Scripture simply says, but sacredly it says, Jesus wept. And in Luke, the only other place in all of the New Testament that records Jesus weeping, it says that when he approached Jerusalem and feeling the hurt, feeling the heartbreak in himself of countless people who suffer needlessly, all because they just did not and could not accept him, it says Jesus wept over Jerusalem. If Jesus wept at the deaths of people and the senseless suffering, that tells me that there is something holy about weeping over especially innocent people who suffer and die because their lives are not valued like other lives in this society. There is healing in weeping. There is holiness in weeping. But finally, there is help in our weeping. Dr. Claudette Copeland said that weeping creates bonds between people of trust and vulnerability. And believe me, that is a source of help, y'all. But weeping also opens up channels to our holy God who hears the vulnerable voice of a soul that weeps to God for help. In Genesis 21, Hagar, and I will be talking about Hagar this Mother's Day, and from Genesis 21, Hagar and her son Ishmael are treated cruelly by Abraham and Sarah as they are driven from the community. And Hagar, in the wilderness of her soul, in the depths of her sadness and her sorrow, the book says she wept and sobbed, and her son sitting off in a distance observing his mother weeping and sobbing. It says Ishmael began to weep also, but the book says that God heard their weeping and God put steel in their back of God's providential promises for them. There is help in your weeping. In Exodus, as Moses takes off his shoes on the backside of a mountain before a bush that burned but would not burn up, Moses heard the voice of God from that bush say to him, "I have seen the oppression of my people who are in Egypt." And God says, "I have heard their weeping because of their taskmasters. And I know," God says, "their sorrow, so I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians." There is help in our weeping. And in the New Testament, when Jesus saw Mary, the sister of Martha, the sister of Lazarus, weeping over the death of Lazarus and saying to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died." Jesus, the text says, was deeply moved and troubled in his spirit. And he asked him, "Where you laid him? Where have you laid him?" And when Jesus saw the place where they had laid Lazarus, the book says that Jesus called out his name, because there is help in our weeping, y'all. Beloved, while we are sheltered in place and alone in the silent moments of our quarantining, I beg you, please allow yourselves some moments of weeping as a form of worship. Weeping for the mother and father of Mahmoud Arbery, viciously gunned down while jogging. Weeping for the families of innocent slain, black and brown, men, women, boys, and girls, by senseless gun violence in so many cities. Weep for the deaths of people unnecessarily dying from COVID-19 in this country and all over the world because their lives are not seen as worthy of the help that they need. Weep for the lives of young black and brown in inner cities who see their lives as an unbroken pandemic already, and they no longer fear death because they experience death and the threat of death every day because their lives are not valued, their lives are not treasured, their lives are not seen as worthy as other lives. Y'all, weep sometime. I beg you, for people whose loved ones have died during this pandemic and they cannot get closure because of the restrictions. Y'all, weep. I am begging you for the workers who are called essential workers, but they don't have the proper equipment. They don't have the proper things they need to protect themselves. They are called essential workers and put their lives on the line, but they are not compensated as essential. Y'all, weep. I am begging you at the innocent lives placed in danger because politicians, they are practicing what Brittany Cooper again calls necropolitics. Weep, I'm telling you, because the news media practices pain pornography over and over again, telling us about how many deaths as if they are fantasizing about it. They are loving it. It's as if they just can't get enough of it, but they don't share as much about the lives that are overcoming. And I'm telling you, we need to weep, y'all, for the working class. Weep for the poor. Weep for the vulnerable. Weep for those who cannot shelter in place because they are homeless. What will happen to them? Weep like Jeremiah, who said, "Oh, that my head were waters and my eyes a fountain of tears, that I might weep day and night for the slain of the daughter of my people." While you shelter in place, find some moments to weep. I ain't saying weep all the time, but let some weeping, not just crying, happen. Weep from the depths of your spirit for the senseless suffering and deaths of innocence all around us. Weep, my people, because there is healing in your weeping. Weep because there is holiness in your weeping. Weep because there is help in your weeping. Weep because Jesus wept. And weep because God is weeping with you. I pray you be blessed. And I pray God will make this a great day for you. Because I know one thing that I am glad about. I am glad that the tomb is empty. God bless you.